Hello everybody. Oh my gosh, it has been a crazy last couple of days, actually last week, last couple of days, because obviously I have been traveling back and forth, trying to get my butt to recurrent, but the last week I have been studying, and it has been crazy. I feel so bad. I've kind of neglected my family, neglected my children, but they were very understanding. They knew mommy was under a lot of pressure. It was actually, do well or go home, basically. It was getting at that point. So let me start from the beginning. Let me rewind. So recurrent, you get mixed reviews from everyone. Some people tell you it's really hard. Other people tell you it's so easy because you do it every day. But if you haven't flown, like I haven't, and you kind of tend to lose what you don't practice. Although you're supposed to do your silent review while you're in the plane, you always have to have those commands fresh. When you don't fly, obviously you don't practice, and what you don't practice, you forget. This is why they have recurrent every single year. So anyways, I had 2 weeks. I was able to get my hands on a study guide. I printed that out, and I wanted to show you guys what I did with it. It was like a spiral binder. I'll probably post a picture here in my suitcase, but I made like a book out of it where I could underline and highlight every important things. Are you going to get that question in your test? Probably not. I was expecting so many things different in my mind from what I heard. Remember, I had never done recurrent before, so I would hear something and I would picture it in my mind. So the way that I had pictured it, it was so different than what really it was. In my mind, it was just so different. You ask people, they try to tell you what it is, but until you see it, you don't know. But anyways, so I had pictured it differently. I did not know there was a computer where you do your test. I thought it was like written. I also thought that they would test us on all the drills. But they only tested us on the 2 main cabin drills, and I ended up studying for all of them. Oh my god, I ended up studying for all the cabin drills. I don't know if it's a good thing because I wasted so much time when I could have just concentrated on the 2 of them that they said they were gonna, test you on. And because of COVID, they did not want you to go through some of the drills that, involved CPR and things where you touch the mannequin, put your mouth on them, or whatever it is. So even though we still had to simulate, it's still something that we didn't have to do. So it's something extra I didn't have to study, which is a good thing. But I ended up studying for a lot more. And the drills are the most important. So and I left Phoenix, went to Orlando, got myself a hotel. I'm going to show you me running, me studying, me basically not having a life. Met a lot of my coworkers, and I'll tell you that much, you guys. What really helped me was the fact that I flew my airline the day before my recurrent. So not only it enabled me to walk through the cabin and notice things that I forgot, or notice things that I couldn't remember, or just got a refresher on, but I got to, access the doors and do my drills at the door and check the big FAP that we have, like that little computer, and kind of like familiarize myself again with everything that I needed to know. So the flight, basically the 2 flights, so from Phoenix to Dallas, and from Dallas to Orlando, those 2 flights helped me a lot. Okay. And then I slept in Orlando, and the next morning you're basically deadheading. So you're working. So I was in uniform, and I left Orlando and went to Dallas, which is where I am now. And we got here late. So now the 2 other people that were flying with me, we started talking. We were all scheduled for the next morning to go to recurrent. So we were chatting, and we ended up, going to each other's room and just studying, which I'm probably going to post a picture or video here, or I'm sure you guys saw it if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. So it was nice to just kind of get together with colleagues, and they have like 4 or 5 years in, so they've done it before, so they weren't too nervous. I'm the one who was a nervous wreck. But it seemed like I knew a lot already going into our kind of review. Now I ended up going to bed early. I just was so tired from traveling. Remember, I commuted 2 planes the day before. Then the day after, I did 1 plane to Dallas. I was really tired. Stayed on the phone with a friend of mine for a little bit, who gave me a little bit of encouragement. You know who you are. Thank you again. And then the next morning, it was recurrent. Now, everything went wrong that day, you guys. When I say everything, I mean everything went wrong. One, I got up, I was so tired because I kept waking up in the middle of the night. You know, when you have something on your subconscious, I could not go back to bed for the life of me. So I got up at 4 or 5. Then I tried to go back to bed. I was so thirsty because we had eaten, I think we ordered Applebee's and we had like ribs, and I don't eat like that usually, so my stomach was a bit upset and I was thirsty. Well, the hotel don't deliver water and I'm in my PJs, so I try to call downstairs to see if they do have a vending machine, but they said they were out. So I'm just like, there's no water and I'm dehydrated. I'm like dying. So I wake up, I get ready, and I'm thinking the time that it takes me to wash my hair is the time that I could take to study. So crazy me, I took a shower, but I didn't wash my hair. And I started studying like a nutcase again. But you know that you have to leave. Okay, so we had to meet up at 10 o'clock because we had to be there at 10:30, and we're about 7 minutes from the training center. So I remember just, you know how when you're stressed, you're reading something and it just doesn't compute anymore because you're just too stressed. So I'm like, I don't even know why I'm reviewing. It's too late. And then I'm looking for my pen because I want to take down notes because I had forgotten some things. Can't find my pen. Anyways, I run downstairs and I forgot to tell you guys that on my way from Phoenix to Dallas and from Dallas to MCO. Okay, so that last leg there, the Dallas MCO, I brought my Timmy, my Timmy cup from things that flight attendants fly with, Amazon finds. You guys could look at my video. I'll post the link below. Yes, my checkout is at 2. Thank you. Okay, thank God I wasn't sleeping and be like, oh. Okay, so I think she hears me talk, so she's like, oh, she's awake. Okay, and so I brought my Timmy cup, and we're allowed to have drinks. What a mess. Anyways, no, actually it was the flight here. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, so the flight. So I sleep in Orlando, and the next day we're scheduled to come to Recurrent in Dallas, right? To come here in Dallas. So I got on the flight, and the people that were with me that were working the flight, they're like, oh, you're going to Recurrent in Dallas. You're going to love it. And we're Dallas based, and it's going to be fun. And there's some good instructors, and some of them, they're not so good because they want everything verbatim. So you got to make sure you know everything by heart, word for word. And I'm like, well, I didn't study it like that, but so they were stressing me out a little bit. But anyways, I put my suitcase on the top. I went to sit down, and I left my Timmy cup full of protein inside of my suitcase, like on the side of my suitcase. And then so I laid it flat and went to sit down. Literally 45 minutes in the flight, somebody was screaming. She's like, oh my God, something is dripping from the overhead bin. And I'm talking, and my Timmy was my protein was falling on her head, I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, I am so sorry. So I got my Timmy out. It was obviously empty, and everything had poured on her, this poor lady. So me and the crew all got together, went up and cleaned the entire bin with water and wipes, and oh Lord, what a mess. It was sticky everywhere, and it smelled like tropical protein. So everybody had a taste of my Herbalife. I felt so bad. But at the beginning, my coworker thought it was her. So she's like, oh, that's my orange juice. I'm so sorry. And then realized it wasn't hers. And when she said, oh, it's not mine, I knew it was mine. So it was one of ours. But anyways, that is so bad. It just, the lid popped open. Like, how does that even happen? Timmy, you need to make those cups better. So anyways, and the crew and I just laughed the entire time. But anyways, got to Dallas, went to bed. Actually studied with, some coworkers that I had met. Went to bed, woke up in the morning, no water, dehydrated, stomach pain, super tired. I was drained. I just wasn't feeling as energetic as I did the days before. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if this is a good sign. So I go downstairs, get into the shuttle. So there's me and my 2 other coworkers, right? We were all scheduled. I get there, we sit down, and I'm like stressing out now. Like now I'm feeling it, I'm shaking. The three, I mean, you know, they walk in, they have a smile, but we could see everything that we're going to be doing that day. And there is a list all the way to the floor. And I'm just like, they actually wrote on the walls. I'm guessing it's erasable or they'll paint over it, but they wrote everything on the wall. That was weird. But anyway, so I'm reading that and I'm seeing it, and it says from 10 o'clock to 8:30. I'm like, what? Like 10:30, actually 10:30 to 8:30. And I'm like, what? That is a long day. We're not even going to get out early. So no, we didn't. Basically, they gave us an hour to do the test, and we did their test at 7:30, which is ridiculous because they keep the hardest part at the end when you are exhausted and have been tested all day. So I don't know if they do it on purpose just to add the pressure, because you know, being a flight attendant is all about handling your pressure. Oh my goodness. So I remember freaking out, but I promised myself I would not open any books, because what I knew is what I know, and there's nothing else I could do. It's either you know the material or you don't. And I gave myself 4 to 5 hours a day, every day. Literally, I would lock my door and read my 50 pages guide inside and out, and ask myself questions and take down notes on a little booklet. And what I would do is, actually, I'm gonna go get him. Okay, you guys. So I'm gonna give you some tricks on how to do this recurrent and how to nail this. All right, nobody showed me how to do this. I was basically on my own. But I will show you. They gave me like a study guide for recurrent. I got that from some colleagues of mine, which is great. So what I did is I went to FedEx and I had them spiraled it. And what the paper that they use is very solid, so it's not like it's going to come out from the spiral. Now I went ahead and I used a pen, and I'm more of a visual person, so I did a lot of like these little plane pictures. Actually, after every little thing I was studying, I would do little planes. See, that's another page, and I would do little planes. Now I know it sounds crazy and it looks stupid, and I don't really care, because those are my notes, and that's for me. And I'm very visual, and I'm an artist, so everything that I study I need to see. So you can tell me, but if I don't see it, so oftentimes during my exam I couldn't remember things, but then I remember like the picture that I drew and the X for like a certain location of a plane if we're looking for like wheelchairs or things like that. So you know, or for emergency rafts and numbers, and I'd give myself tricks, although there was a lot of numbers to remember. You know, how many passengers in this, what kind of slide is that, what kind of this is that. So I did a lot of drawings, you guys, like just to give you an example. Oh no, I can't even show you guys, that's sensitive documentation. But anyways, you get the idea. I did that. So when I got done, I read that thoroughly. There's 50 page. So I read that, and then I gave myself a day or two, and then I read it again. But I read it slowly, and I learned that when I do that, for some reason, there's a lot of things that I couldn't grasp at the beginning that I kind of understood afterwards, which was awesome. So I did it twice, back to back, and then the second time I took down notes. So I got this little cute binder at the dollar store. It's so cute. I feel so bad because I actually gave it to my daughter. I was like, hey honey, would you like this little cute binder? Look how cute it is, you guys. It's tiny, it's portable. I like it because I knew I was gonna fly, and I did not want to go you know, like carry like another book on top of this one. It's just too much. So it's got a little circle thingy here that you can open and add pages to it, which is fantastic. And then it's got that little elastic to keep it together. So what I did is this. I know it's so what I would do is this. So I would write the points that were underlined here. So I would write them down and write a little bit about it, and then I would question myself on the next page, such as this. So I'm just trying to show you here. So here I would draw my little drawings, and I would write about what they want us to know, and then on the page after that I would draw, and I would say, where do you think they are? And sometimes I would know, sometimes I wouldn't know. And so I was questioning myself after every question. So basically it had two sides to these little. So this really helped. And then, as we remember from our videos, when we went to the recurrent practice, they gave us a training copy of what they're going to be asking us, which is very, very important to have, because they are going to go probably not necessarily in order, but they're going to tell you what they expect from you. And just to give you an example, opening a door, closing a door, that's one of the drill, but they have like every step that they want you to memorize. Now, and you have 3 attempts per drills. Okay. I had a lot of drills, you guys. The problem with, so I almost failed. I am not gonna lie. One of the drills that I did, the first drill that I did on the plane, they did it literally like you walked in, they had a little PowerPoints right away. They took you to the mock-up and they started. And I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't have time to get here yet. So I'm kind of happy that they got it out of the way because it was still fresh in my mind. But they made me do this drill and they caught me off guard, which is fine. I started doing it. I did everything perfect, but the button in the mid cabin of our Airbus 321, you have to push it all the way in order to silence the siren. Well, I pushed it, but I didn't push my finger deep enough. So while I was saying my commands, I was saying on top of like the big siren. So the instructor could hear me, but he made me realize when I got done, he goes, it's excellent, but you didn't press the button, which was supposed to silence it. So in a case of an emergency, nobody will be able to hear you, which makes sense. But in my mind, I thought I did. And I thought that's just a default with their structure or whatnot, but it wasn't. So he had me redo it. Now, when you're caught off guard and you're starting to kind of analyze yourself, and then they tell you that you did everything perfect, but that, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm already on my second trial and I have 3 chances. So I was getting nervous. Second one, I started my drill and I just blanked out. I blanked out. I started touching things I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't doing things I wasn't supposed to. So he stopped me and he said, take a breather, go do the other drill. Go do ditching right now. You cannot do this this door anymore, this mid-cabin door. He goes, you are too stressed out right now and you have 1 more trial, so I'm going to ask my 2 other instructors to watch you because this is your last trial and we're going to send you home after this if you don't do well. So I was like, what? Oh my God. So I went to do my ditching, and just before I did my ditching, the instructor, another instructor, female, gave me a box of Kleenex, and she's like, are you gonna cry? And I'm like, I feel like I want to, because I was telling her I'm so stressed, I feel like I'm gonna cry. And just because I said that, my tears started coming out. I felt like such a baby. And it's not because I wasn't prepared, it's the stress of, what if I fail this drill? I didn't come all the way this way to fail. Like, that is not an option for me, you know. And I knew that I had 1 more trial for the other mid-cabin door, but and now I had to concentrate on this new drill because they wanted to distract me before I do my third trial. And I was just so stressed out, you guys, that the stress of everything, the lack of sleep, and just the tears balled out of my face. And she's like, do you need a moment? And I'm like, no, I'm fine, I got this. So she gave me a Kleenex. I'm like, I don't need it. And I grabbed it anyways. But I had a smile. I was saying that through my mask. And that's another thing. You have to say them through your mask, and you have to keep your mask all day until 8 o'clock. It was miserable. I could not breathe. Like, you know, you're stressed, you're crying, you can't breathe because your heartbeat is like beating out of your chest. And then they expect you to memorize all this stuff. It's not even funny. Anyways, I nailed the ditching. Everything was fine. Then he calls me. He goes, come here. Now you're due for your 3rd trial. You got to get it out of the way. And then I see this other woman, a coworker who was next to me, and she was on her 3rd trial too. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this is horrible. And then he's like, who wants to go first? And she said, I will. I wanted to go first and get it out of the way, but she said that she wanted to go. So I wasn't allowed to watch, but I was behind the wall and I could hear her. And I was doing my commands as she was doing her command, and I could hear that she had missed a few things. And I remember thinking, I don't know what's going to happen now. And sure enough, they had a talk with her for about 10 minutes, and I could hear it. And they basically sent her home. I was devastated for her, but I had to concentrate on my drill and what I had to say and how to say it. And at this point, your heart is pumping. You can't focus anymore. You just have to go by memory. Because if you start thinking, you're just going to mess it all up. So he sat me down. 2 instructors came and they're like, you're on your last trial. You got this. Okay. So I'm like, okay. So I sat down. He goes, let me know when you're ready. I remember I had just cried. I don't know. And it wasn't like a, oh, I'm bawling. It was just like one little tear. Like, I got this and I'm not going to let my stress get in the way. Remember, I've never done this before. So nobody's ever told me what to expect. And the pressure that is on you is insane. Like, it's not like, anyways. So it reminded me of training, and training was so hard, and it just kind of puts you back in that state of mind, you know? So I went back and my mascara wasn't running. I love these. This mascara is amazing. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and he goes, let me know when you're ready. And I remember thinking, do I go through it in my mind and mess up, or do I just do it? And I said, let's just do it. You either pass or not. But I even told the instructor, I'm like, failing is not an option and I will get this. I remember saying that because I'm like, I'm not going through this again. I'm not flying back here and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, I got to get it done. So I sat there and I said, I'm ready. So he goes, okay. And he said the command and I answered and I did it. It takes about, what, 2 to 3 minutes to do your entire drill. And then when I got done, he goes, you passed. The relief that I felt, because I knew this was my last trial, was unbelievable, you guys. I was just like, and this is all due also to like repetition. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed. I repeated it over and over again. And why did I do that? Why did I push this button before that one? So that it made sense sequence wise. Even if I was doing it on the wall here, it just had to make sense. And it's funny because that drill, I nailed it the first time around. The second time I messed it up just because of the stress of knowing that I failed the first time. And then the stress of knowing that that was going to be your last trial before you're sent home. All that played a part in my success. Or it could have been my failure. But I remember thinking, you're not going to fail this one. You're going to take your time. You're going to think it through. You're going to do what you need to do. And I did it. So all the instructors signed off because there was more than one watching me. Because when you fail with one more than twice, the third trial, they have all the instructors watch you and kind of sign off on the paper that they have seen you and they agree that, you know, you either pass or you fail. Because I'm sure some people argue, hey, I did well. I don't know why he failed me a third time. So there's witnesses is why, you know, so it's even more intimidating when you're on your third trial. So anyways, when we got those drills out of the way, I was happy. There was more drills, obviously, but not as intense as the 2 main drills. So we did all the other ones. The other ones I nailed because I was very prepared and ready, but I was stressing out for the exam because that's another thing. If you don't get 90% on your exam, you are sent home. So you can get 85 or 80, you're sent home. You could only afford to have 4 mistakes. I thought originally it was 100 question. We ended up getting 50. Not sure who told me 100. I could have sworn it was 100. So, but it was 50 and nobody gets the same test. I remember sitting there. Oh, so throughout the recurrent, you guys, I was so stressed. You have no idea. They barely give you a 40 to 50-minute lunch break. But by the time they finish talking and you walk out, and you're looking for something to eat and you go outside, it's already 10 minutes wasted. So so I didn't really get any time to eat that much. I did bring a salad from my meal the day before, which I left in the fridge in the hotel. So make sure you guys bring something to eat. They have a vending machine and some coffee machines, but not enough for you to fill your body. So throughout the training, my wing fell. One of my little so my wing in the back, there's like a little button. That button fell, and so my name was crooked, and so one of the instructors like, I'm gonna have to write you down for that. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I look and I'm like, well, it wasn't like that when I came in. She goes, yeah, you're right, I don't remember seeing that. And she's like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And sure enough, throughout training, some girls saw my pin. She's like, hey, I found your pin. So I put it and I went to the instructor and said, see, this is the pin that I lost. And I didn't come in. I mean, you guys, you have to be perfect. What I mean by perfect, I mean, and you have to remember your compliance, not your compliance. So you need to be up to par with everything. Your hair, your lanyard, you need to have all of your belongings with you as if you're working. And your tablet for work needs to be recharged at a certain percentage. If not, you're sent home. So with that said, one of the girls that I studied with, we walked in and she wasn't as talkative. So I think there's something on her mind. I think she had forgotten something. And sure enough, there was something that she wasn't compliant with. And they sent her home literally 5 minutes in as we walked in. So they do not mess around, you guys. They'll ask you to stand up. They'll watch your uniform, make sure that it covers your knees. They'll make sure that your nylons are the color they need to be, your shoes, your makeup, your hair, your earrings, your watch, passport, all the documents that you need while you work, including, I mean, there's really important things that you need to have at all times. The FAA will penalize you for not having them, and they'll penalize the airline with a lot of money if you don't have them. So it's really important that you have all those things. And thankfully, I went through my list before leaving, and I know for a fact that backpacks are not allowed, okay? I bring one when I commute, but I don't bring it to work. Now, what I had in there was my passport, but I left to go to Recurrent with my suitcase. Now, when I went through my list, thankfully, and you guys make sure you go through your list one more time before you leave, because it could be something as silly as your watch or as like your passport. Well, that's what happened to me. I walked through the door and I'm like, let me go through my checklist again. And there was a lot of stuff to bring, and I had forgotten my passport into my backpack. So, and I was not going to bring my backpack into the Recurrent. So thankfully I would have walked in without my passport and they would have sent me home. Seriously. And I would have gotten an NOI, which is really, really bad because you lose a lot of points. So little things like that makes such a big difference. Even your lanyard, if you have like a little, what are they called? Those little phlegm or flesh? I don't know what they're called. Anyway, those little buttons, if you have them, like, you have to have them above your wing. If you have them under, you get penalized. I mean, it's every little thing, literally your nails. They look at everything. So make sure you're up to par with everything. Bring that list of everything you need. I had it on my phone. It had everything. And there's a lot. You don't think about those things when you gather everything, especially from home. Because once you're here, always bring 2 pairs of nylons. You never know if one is going to get ripped. Bring 2 uniform. You never know if one's going to get dirty or ripped. Always bring spares, especially if you're commuting, or even if you're not commuting and they're keeping you at the hotel in Dallas. They're deadheading you from base to wherever they want you to do Recurrent. A lot of people live in Las Vegas, and you can do Recurrent in Las Vegas, but they'll send you to Dallas to do Recurrent. That's just because it's operational needs. They send you where they think they need you. So you have no say. Even if you live there, they won't send you to Recurrent there. So always make sure you bring a backup. Always, always. And make sure you bring water. I learned I learned the hard way. I was so dehydrated. So the day didn't start too well. Wings failed. I cried. Almost failed. So the whole day goes by. I'm stressed out, right? And so now they know me by name. So I don't know if that's a good thing. They're like, Shelly, Shelly. So I'm like, oh gosh. I felt like I was like the little baby of the group. It seemed like I was the only one that it was my first Recurrent. And they were trying to coach me. The girls were like, okay, make sure when you answer, you say this, you say that. They were trying to help me, and they could see that I'm a little, not lost, but a little insecure in what I was doing. I wasn't insecure in my drills, but I was insecure in like the process. When it came down to the exam, I was shitting bricks. I kid you not. Like, I was just like, I don't know how prepared I am. Believe it or not, I was the first one done. And I know this because every time I would barely read the question, and I remember seeing it somewhere or reading about it or practicing it. So I already knew the answer. I wouldn't even do like 1, 2, 3. I would just see the answer and just go, oh, it's A or it's B. So I would just go with the little mouse and just go tick, 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 tick. Before you know it, I had answered 48 questions, 2 or 3 I wasn't sure about. And I looked around and everybody's doing it. And I'm like, should I just raise my hand to let them know I'm done? Or do you think I'm just going to get 0? Am I too confident? So the instructors were amazing, though. They're very patient. They could help you with the questions. If you have a question and you don't understand the question, you can ask them to rephrase it. Like, if you're not sure, ask. You know, they're not going to say no. They're going to help you out. Not to give you the answer, but they will rephrase. And if you're not sure about what the question means, they'll rephrase it so you could understand it. Anyways, so they helped me with 1 or 2 questions, but and I'm pretty sure it was right because the way they rephrased it, it made sense. But all the other ones, and they asked me, "Are you sure you don't have any questions?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, he clicks for the result, and I'm just hiding my face, and he's like, "Wow." And I go, "Wow, what? Wow, I failed?" And he's like, "Look, you got 100." And I'm like, "What? How the hell did I get 100?" And he's looking at me thinking, "How the hell did you get 100?" Because it's funny because the whole time, I'm always asking questions in class, and I sound like the dumbbell, although I knew some of the answers. I'm not the dumbbell. I'm very thorough. Like, I need to understand why things happen. That's the way I learn. I don't just learn it because they ask me to. I want to know why it's there and why do we need it. And so I asked questions, and I think they were bothered by it a little bit. They were very patient with me. But also when they were asking questions like, "Oh, when you're those and those exit block and you need to get out, what are your 2 exits?" And I would be like, L2 or 3, and nobody would answer. So my knowledge was a little bit above everyone. I don't know if they had studied as much as I did. The thing is, I understood my material as opposed to learning it by heart. Like, why do you have to exit there? Because there's an explanation. So it's really important when you guys study, picture it and understand why you're doing so it helps you for the exam. So now I got done, right? I'm looking around, and I waited for someone to stand up because I'm like, this is impossible that I'm done. So I waited. I see 1 person, 2 person, literally 10 minutes later, they're getting up. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll get up now. And finally nailed the test and left, and I was so relieved and so happy. And I forgot to tell you guys that during one of my drills, there's a hook on your uniform that when you finish zipping it, it kind of hooks on the top. And so my hair, my ponytail, for some reason, that hook goes into my ponytail, and because the hair is lifted up, it pulls the hair down. So you just picture your hair up, and then the hook kind of grabs your hair this way, right? So I'm doing my drill and it's pulling, and I don't have time at this point to figure out what's going on. So I just yanked it and I pulled half of my hair, literally. I was so pissed. Now when I do a ponytail, my hair comes out. I have like these little strands of hair that I ripped. I was so nervous, and I just wanted to not have to deal with it. So I just kind of ripped it, and it did it twice. Freaking every time I have a ponytail, because I want my hair off my face when I work, it always do that. So, and this is a new uniform, and I went from size 12 to 14, no, 16. So I went from a 16 to a 14 to a 12 to an 8 to now I'm like a size, I thought I was a size 6, and when they send it to me, it's too loose. And I'll show you a little video because I sent it to my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh my god, a size 6 is too loose. And so I remember trying it at home, and I returned it because I had 2 size 6s. I returned one of them so I can get a size 4. They still haven't received it. It's 2 months in, and they still haven't sent me the new one that I wanted as an exchange. So I was stuck with my size 6 to go to recurrent. And I look like a balloon. I don't know if they were going to send me home, but I mean, they rather have it longer than shorter. So I think it was good. It worked in my advantage. But if you guys have a skirt that's above your knee, be careful. They're very picky about that. And it's for your drills. You need to be able to do certain things, like put your hands around, in case of an emergency ditching. You can't do that if your dress is too tight. So there's a reason for why they want you to wear certain things. So just keep that in mind. Now, with that said, yeah, I mean, make sure you study, you guys. You don't expect to pass something without studying. So put in the work. Within our training, recurrent, 2 people left. So the lady that had her 3rd trial left, and one of the girls that I'd met coming here, unfortunately, she didn't have one of her items and she was sent home. So we were a group of 7 or 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we were 7 minus 2. So that was kind of sad. Yeah, we ended up having a smaller group, but I have a good friend of mine who failed recurrent twice in a row. First time she wasn't ready. Second time she was ready, but didn't make the test. So you guys take it seriously. This is your job. They will give you another recurrent date in case you fail that first recurrent, but it's not without penalizing you. Once you have your second recurrent, you have to pass everything. If not, you lose your job. So if your job means a lot to you, it is worth the investment. It's just a few hours a day. I have 3 children. I lock myself in, They made their own dinner and lunch, and I was unbearable as a mom. I was snappy, I was impatient, I felt like I'm not gasping some, you know, theories and things. And so I took my time. I redid the modules because they send you modules to do, and you have to pass those in order to attend recurrent. So those are long. They took about 9 to 10 hours of my time to do them, and you can't skip through. You got to read and you got to answer questions at the end. So that helped as well. And then they have little quizzes at the end of those, so that helped too. So make sure you concentrate, take screenshots of things that you're doing, training copy, go to a recurrent practice. I did one time and it helped because you're going to see the board with all the things that you need to pre-flight. You're going to see the mock-up, you can practice. And I went in not prepared. So when I went with Marieli, my girlfriend, my coworker, I went in, she was prepared, I wasn't. I didn't review anything. I just went in there thinking it's going to come back to me, and it didn't. So I wish with all the knowledge I have now, I would have gone and practiced. It would have been better. So next time, if I do recurrent and I do a practice, it'll be, I'll be ready before I go, just so that I don't waste anyone's time, you know, because then the coach or there's the person that's there to help you sees that you forgot everything. So you're not there to practice something, you know, you're there to like refresh your memory, but you don't remember it. So I hope this video was informative. I wish there was a video out there on recurrent and to teach me and show me what to do. You know, I love to share my knowledge as I live the process, so that you guys know what to expect, because I wish somebody would have told me. But make sure you get these little cue cards or flashcards or whatever it is that's going to help you. I like this because it keeps them all together because I'm so disorganized. Make sure you have a pen, because there's things along the way you'll realize or remember, and you could take down notes. Study guide, make sure you put it into a binder. You don't want to lose these. And get the training copy, which is the drill, and practice them, guys. Practice makes perfect. Do it in your room. Do it in the plane if you're flying us. Do it while you're at work. Silent review. Every time you go to work, silent review. You guys always have those drills handy, because you never know, right? So I hope this was useful. I love you guys. And I hope very soon to see you on the line. I was really excited to meet up with one of my subscribers who felt the starstruck, which I thought was so cute. He's like, oh my God, you're flying with Shelly. And I'm like, yeah. And I wanted to hug him so bad. He's adorable. Great guy. Would love to fly with him one day. But I was on his flight on my way to Dallas from Phoenix, I believe. And it was really nice to see him. And he said I helped him a lot. And he's where he's at because of me. And I was like, aw, you're making me feel so special. So hugs, and special hugs and kisses to you. I appreciate you, and thank you for following me, you guys, and making me feel like I contribute and I give. I love to give, and I want you guys to be successful. So again, love you, and stay positive and stay safe.